Hello everyone, this is my dog Austin, and he's going to be our audio so that I can interview without audio today. So my name is Mary and I work downtown as a volunteer. I do kind of an autonomous but loosely occupy Portland vigil. It's at City Hall. Have you heard of this? No? Okay. So City Hall Vigil is for houseless people. Originally, December 1st, it was just a table with some candles, and the purpose was to lift the camping ban. So that's my first question, aside from, did you hear about it? Do you know what the City of Portland means for the words camping ban and how it applies?
Not necessarily. My guess is that you wouldn't be able to pitch tents in the parks.
Right. Not only can you not pitch a tent, but you cannot have any kind of structure. And some typical structures are, if you have a pallet, we call that a structure. Hi. Hello. I am on Ustream on television.
Nice.
Yeah.
Must have been the seat.
Yeah?
It's gone.
The seat was creaking?
No, I don't.
So I'm just doing an interview. Do you want to be after
Totally
me?
interrupting your interview.
No, that's cool. It's action TV. Are you camera shy?
Not really.
You want to say hi on the internet? I'm
I'll
just
say
gonna say hi.
sure.
All right.
Hi, internet people.
Okay,
I
cool.
love you.
Do you are you gonna have time for me to ask you the questions after?
Sure, I need
Cool.
to do a couple things.
All right.
but yeah,
All right.
cool.
Come back.
Okay.
Thanks to meet you. All right. So anyway, structure would be anything to raise you off of the ground, to keep you from freezing or getting out of water, that they call a structure. Or a tent, obviously, a lean-to. If you were to put a tarp over, say, some mailboxes or a shopping cart, they can call that a structure too. So now it happens in downtown and around the bridges sometimes, and so forth. So given that, what do you think people should do if they can't stay off cold cement or use a lean-to protect themselves?
Are there shelters? Sorry, have you just moved here a year ago?
No,
so
it's good to ask. There are some cities that have adequate shelters, and I want to give props to the people who volunteer at those shelters. There, and in Portland, there are very few. Like if you were married, if you had a boyfriend and girlfriend, you would not be able to stay there. If there's, I guess, a few for men. There often you can't get in, and when you can get in, you got to go in and just stay there for the whole night, like sometimes rather early. And of course there's conditions, and sometimes people just don't get in. So Right to Dream 2 went up as one of the solutions in Dignity Village. So but I would say you probably don't want to go into a shelter. Some of the problems that are with shelters, you might be able to guess. That would be another question. What do you think would be the problem if you were to go into a shelter, say, especially your first time around?
I think belongings might get stolen.
Count on it.
Bugs might get assaulted.
Yep. All those things. Assault, I think they try real hard to not have that happen, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get thrown up on or sprayed with Lysol or good grief. Anyway, there's risk of course, head lice and body lice and all of those kinds of things. They do TB checks, but I think people are concerned still, So Right to Dream 2 went up. It's a self-sufficiency community. They call it a rest area. Have you heard of Right to Dream? They're from a nonprofit called Right to Survive. It's on 4th and Burnside. Now you're new to this area, and we're not in Portland proper. We're in Selwood, so might not know about it. But it was kind of controversial because it was right on Burnside at Chinatown. in a lot that he tried to put food carts originally, and they gave him a hard time, so he couldn't do that. And they have tents, and they have a gate, and they recycle doors, and they're painted doors around making this gate of this small, this small
Yeah, I
parking
saw that.
lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've seen it. They have a desk that you check in. They don't let anybody just walk on through, so they have some security there, and
Who's they?
themselves. They do have a couple volunteers, but I think they live there, and so despite the fact that they have homes, we have volunteers over there who live there,
Okay.
which is pretty awesome. You can check in for 12 hours at a time to sleep. And there's also a membership, so you could stay there after like 3 nights of doing that, provided they're kind of in. I think they do a little screening. So some people are able to, I believe, leave their things, but they're not called a campground. They're called a rest area because, it's for rest, it's not for camping, and that's one of the weird things.
Can you pitch a structure?
They have tents. They have tents there.
Really?
So you just use the tent.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good.
Is
so
it good? I don't know what you told me.
it is.
It sounds good.
It is. I like them a lot because they take care of themselves. They feed themselves, and it lifts the burden of, other services because they have the security and they have 3 rules. They have no violence, no drinks, no drugs. And I've heard that there are more rules, but those are really where they stem. He said, if we have drinking and drugs, we're going to have violence.
Yep.
So basically, it's a precaution to keep people safe. So, the Right to Survive, Right to Dream 2, it's been there several months. I'm not sure exactly when it started. Actually, I think it started just before October. Might have been September. Anyway, so what would you expect the city to react? Of course, this is a leading question because if I'm asking you, there's probably an interesting answer.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how did they get access to that property?
It's private property, so they had permission from the owner.
Oh, okay.
He's renting it.
That's a big deal. I would hope the city would be okay with that.
Yeah, the number of homeless families rose 30% in 2011.
In Portland or across the nation?
In Portland. Yeah. So the city is in a 10-year plan, but it's renewed after failure for the 10-year plan. I've heard they have a lot of 10-year plans for a lot of things, but this one is pretty urgent, and they're in year 7 of that renewed. So 7 years into the 10-year plan, 17 years later, it rose 30%. So city's reaction was to fine them, I believe, $641 for having doors that were too high for a recreational campground.
Okay.
So
would they would the individuals who put those doors up have had access to those rules prior to putting them up?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Because if that's all the city had problems with, or is that just their way of poking them in the eye?
Yeah, it's, that's a good question. I shouldn't speculate. I do know that every 2 months they double it.
Okay.
So those fees are adding up. They're not being paid. I believe they're being put in an account because they're fighting this. They're not fining the nonprofit. They're fining the owner to put pressure on him. So that coffee that I spilled looks terrible. This is I'm filming a big spot. Anyway.
So, given that they're only concerned about the doors right now, and unless they've mentioned other ways that they would plan to irritate the owner and/or the non-for-profit, why not adjust the door height and see if that stops it?
So, like if they were to build a wall or something, or...
Well, not build a structure, because then you need a permit, but, if they were
Well, it's private property. So they're using a recreational campground law. First of all, this is a survival means. It's not, this is like, kids, daddy lost his job, we're going camping. It's not a good...
Why not level off the doors.
Why not?
To
Yeah, I don't know.
the rule and then be done with it.
Okay, so we would expect that if Right to Dream negotiated with the city,
Mhm.
or rather if the owner did, that the city would say, sure, that's our only problem with it, and if you do that, we'll leave you be.
Yeah. Has that been done?
You know, I'd be a little surprised if that was their only issue, based on the fact that I watched a demonstration by the people who live there. They had community theater in front of City Hall. It was pretty neat. They did a bunch of chanting, and they invited Occupy Portland to stand in solidarity with them. But they're very much not a political organization. They're a 501c3, so we have to make sure that they understand that we're separate. But yeah, they invited other organizations to join them, and it was really beautiful. So I would think that a lot of people would have been ready to come up with a solution other than doors. I don't know why they'd all be stubborn about a door. I think perhaps that's just what they can find.
Yep.
There's a technique that Stalin used, and I wouldn't say they were that bad, but to make enough rules that he could find 3 rules that you're breaking at any given moment so that he can deal with you. And right now, if you're houseless, you're always breaking the law. Just about anything that you do. So like those Transitional Projects Inc., which is the Bud Clark $47 million building that houses 130 people, they are inside of that, and they referred people to Occupy Portland because they were full. Everybody was full. So our camp doubled in size almost overnight. And that was a burden. We fed everybody. There were 1,500 meals served every day.
How did that change the atmosphere when you doubled overnight?
It was crazy.
What does crazy mean?
Well, Occupy was, we had a necessity to behave as a community because everything was free. And that gift culture comes from like the Rainbow Gathering influence, and it's really
Wait,
neat.
no, I don't even know. I don't know what that is. Rainbow Gathering?
10,000 people show up in a forest city with a kind of a permit of their own kind of interesting way of negotiating that, but they go to a forest, national forest, and they pray for peace. And they meet, I don't know if it's a week or a month that they spend in the summer. It's a national thing, but then they have picnics in parks. They have, I know they have week retreats in different locations, like Mount Hood National Forest. They just had one. And
so they sponsor this, the Occupy?
I would say they mentored. And they were part of the inception, and they brought with them their booths. They had, for instance, I'm part of Rumors Coffee now. And Rumors is interesting. They have more than coffee going on. They have some, like, I don't know, PR type of, and just basic community stuff going on. But, they give away free coffee. And they get free coffee from the public to brew.
Oh, okay.
And so when you walked into Occupy, anybody could have coffee. Anybody could have food 3 times a day and all sorts of stuff. And
a lot of
gave
people
away
donate.
Clothes, gave away like health things. People got Reiki healing and herbal things and just anything you could think of. Mental health. There were people from outside in who were unofficially working in there. I wish it were official. That would have been a good statement. But anyway, so it was a self-sufficiency community like Right to Dream, but much bigger and temporary. They had a library. That's also Rainbow Gathering, is to have a library.
Oh, okay.
Everything was paper. It was handbills. It wasn't really internet.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, we had the General Assembly to make decisions, and now I'm left, I do this twinkle up, those kinds of symbols, and to make democratic decisions, which isn't quite how Rainbow does it. Rainbow actually looks for 100% consensus instead of 90, which is neat. But anyway, so while we're there, camp doubles, and people who are coming in are not there just to participate in politics. In fact, you heard anybody go, mic check. It's neat. They did that in Occupy Wall Street, and all the Occupy did it, and it was, I like to say occupancies.
Mhm.
That sounds less, anyway, yeah, so they did it, and it's where if I wanted to get a message across, I would say mic check, and you would say, and everyone else would say mic check, and that gets everyone's attention, and then I speak in 3 or 4, 5 words at a time, and then you repeat it, and so the whole crowd echoes what the person's saying, and that way everyone can hear.
When it doubled, did that sort of culture continue?
Yeah, that was the problem. I walked into the camp and I would say mic check, and then be like, "Ah," and then swear at me, and it's like all of a sudden, that ability to get people involved. I really wanted people to come to the GA at that moment. That's why I was over there in the other, in Longsdale Square Park. I came over to tell people that they need to be at the General Assembly. There weren't enough people, and they were going to pass something I didn't like.
Yeah.
And so I wanted everyone to come because there were less and less participants.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I was just told to buzz off. And I saw somebody OD right in front of me, and a reporter.
Oh wow.
He wasn't there for politics. We had police in the camp, but they didn't do anything. They just watched our GA, and of course some people didn't want them there. So I mean, but I don't tell the police what to do. I don't know why they weren't there. But anyway, we got left with all the problems and then blamed. So that was really unfortunate because the city didn't solve problems of drugs and crime in all these years, and they wanted us to solve it without their help in a couple weeks. Anyway, that was a bummer. So doubling the camp. So now we've learned from that, and we don't want to stop the giving to everyone culture, but I think there's going to be anything that we do where we do feed folks. I think we're going to have to say, can you hand out some handbills, or can you help around?
Yeah.
And have some expectation of participation. I would probably let people hand out handbills from like Sierra Club or somebody if they didn't like Occupy, but they can still have some oatmeal.
Mhm.
And we give out coffee to everybody at City Hall. So City Hall Vigil is pretty. It's got candles and flowers and stuff that doesn't get stolen. That's what stays, is stuff that doesn't get taken. There'll be passersby and they'll just grab a Buddha, whatever. But flowers and sticks and rocks, candles, they're still there.
Makes sense.
So, and there's people sleeping on the sidewalk, and we take care of them. Like when it was raining or snowing, and we, make sure that they were covered, and they have sleeping bags we check out.
Do you think that helped the cause?
You mean to take people off of the street?
Well, it never hurts to help someone, right? But the cause, did it help, or did it?
I guess it depends which cause.
Mhm.
Like the Occupy Portland.
The political cause.
Political, right. Well, somebody boiled it down for me as justice. And this segment of society is becoming preyed upon by our rules because the Portland Business Alliance, and this happens all over the country, they don't like the way homelessness looks. But their solution is to sweep them out of sight and into danger, and so if you look at a society as how you treat your most vulnerable, which I think is a measure of what kind of society we have, then yes, we're fighting for justice. I think Occupy needs to reach out to all different kinds of people, not just houselessness. But the reason I have a special connection is that camp was how we had 24/7 assembly, and people could come in off the street and say, I don't like the system and I want to work on it, and they contribute their art or their music or their instructions, like debate club and all sorts of whatever they had to give, they would give it for this cause and come up with all this creativity. So it was a hub, and I think communities need to be able to come to City Hall or wherever whenever they're really concerned about something, like NDAA. That really concerns me, and I feel a great urgency because of the way it got pushed through. Or CISPA, which came right after SOPA and PIPA or whatever. Do those acronyms, you know, those NDAA and
Yeah.
SOPA?
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you see that they were just pushed through no matter what the public said? They just went. Or do you like them? Okay.
Well, I think HIPAA's not. I mean,
HIPAA. No, I
I
mean.
wouldn't argue with HIPAA, but
No, SOPA and I think it's PIPA, the Piracy Protection Act, and the you know, where Disney and some places are trying to be able to take websites down,
Mhm.
and you can have a website taken down just by the accusation. So if somebody posts on YouTube a video that had a copyright protection, now you can take YouTube down. It was really broad. And
Yeah.
then NDAA allows a citizen to be held without any process whatsoever, indefinite detention on American soil by the military from the accusation alone of being affiliated with a group that's affiliated with terrorism. So worst case scenario is you are at a protest for peace and they say that some of those protesters are, or a country. So maybe you have friends from Iran and we go to war with Iran, and that would be enough for them to take you and you would have no rights.
No, I definitely don't agree with that. I moved here from Michigan, and a lot of my friends are Middle Eastern. Many of my friends, and yeah, it's something we dealt with every day.
Do you have any friends from Afghanistan? Okay, so right there, I believe you were subject to, if somebody had a grudge against you. Let's say you were a business and you were competing against a very powerful business and they had connections, and you could just be disappeared under that law. It is possible. And now whether, I don't know, I think whenever you give power, it gets used. So this kind of power will get used and is being used. So did you ever hear of Bradley Manning? He blew the whistle on what the military was doing overseas, and I don't know a lot about it, but it was war crimes. For reporting on war crimes and showing video, he is in indefinite detention. He was in a hole, and they moved him after a public outcry, but he still doesn't have his freedom.
Who is he? Was he military?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He was. He was deployed, and this is what he witnessed, and this is what he blew the whistle on. And our there's a sticker somebody put up, even though it really doesn't have to do with houseless. Somebody just tagged us with the Bradley Manning sticker, and it stayed up because, you know, to many people he's a hero for trying to stop, you know, women and children from being shot or, you know, bullied or, you know, those kinds of things. He had really shocking video, and it went up on that website, what's it called? The one that's basically whistleblowing on.
I forget.
Yeah, I forget too, but anyway, yeah, so that was what he got it for, is being a whistleblower against proof of, you know, this abuse by certain soldiers. And I don't know why those soldiers were protected at all. But anyway, so yeah, it's been used, it's being used. But NDAA is something that we had a march for. In fact, we had several. And I was at downtown when they were having one, and before anything, we were at a park. Which one is it? Directors Park. Pretty place with a restaurant and glass. And that chessboard downtown. And we were there, and we had a guy who was going to put up a screen and show a movie, and people had really great signage, and we were going to do a march. And right away, there were bicycle cops and police officers on motorcycles lining up in droves. So I went up to him and I said, "Why are you here for us? Because you don't have any reason to be here. We haven't started, you know, this march. You haven't been called. You're here already." And anyway, I believe in de-escalation, and I think you shouldn't have people on horses and riot gear just because you see that there's going to be a protest or a demonstration, because it makes people nervous.
Mhm.
The people it's making the most nervous are the cops. You can see that they are easily spooked, and so there's been some video footage of unprovoked beatdowns, including people who are just passing by.
In Portland?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, there's an iconic photograph of Liz being sprayed in the face with mace, like from a couple feet away, just a huge stream of it that was in the Oregonian. And there's a guy who got clotheslined outside of Arlene Schnitzer because he was riding a bicycle, and they assumed that he was part of the bicycle riders with us. People ever so often write and say, "What's going on? I just saw some old lady shoved to the ground." Or anyway, it's the kind of thing you wouldn't believe unless you were seeing it. The video, we have protesters who I don't know what they're about. I think any protest, you're going to get people who are there to, cause trouble or have fun, or not necessarily there to protest. But
Same at work.
yeah, explain. At work.
Not everybody is there to do a job. Sometimes they're just there to pass some time until they get to do what they want to do.
Right. I gotcha. Yeah, and so if we have people who look like they have a sign or don't have a sign or whatever, doesn't really jive with the rest of the protests, that's what's going to be reported. I mean, although the media seems to be changing a little bit. We've had less of the manufacturing spin. A little bit less. What we have is actually less coverage generally. They must be bored with us. But anyway. But
Nationally, there's less coverage, so maybe they're just following suit.
Maybe. Yeah, I was talking to a reporter who actually watched a kid get beaten by a cop in front of us, and what was interesting is I had just been talking about, the reason I was talking to the reporter is because I saw a kid have that happen right before that, and they weren't doing anything wrong. So it was Carla, I think Castano or Costanza. Anyway, I was telling her I was really concerned about that being edited out. Not that footage, but what I was saying, the whole story. And the poor thing, she's like, it's editor, it's top down, it's not something, I don't know, I'll try to, get the whole thing on, but, it's not our decision. It would be the editor or the executives. So, right after that, and her camera guy is still picking up footage, another kid gets beaten up, and she saw it and she was shaking, and the camera guy had it all, and that never made the news. So that reporter got a lesson in what I was just talking about, because it never made the news.
When was this?
That was Shemansky. So December, I tried to reoccupy. We were going for a space that had no grass, because that's the reason that our city gave for the big crackdown on us to remove the park. But the thing was, it was coordinated by Homeland Security, and I don't think Homeland cared about the grass.
Okay.
So that park was slated for repair. Lonsdale Chapman was slated for repair, and they, $9,000 for a park bench and $6,000 to rake leaves, like we caused the leaves to fall. What is that? Look at that. What is that? I'm sorry. Just, not that people are going to be tired of my dog, but... Oh, I see. Somebody wanted to have somebody find it, but it's been sitting in there, I guess, a while. It is kind of sad. I should take him and fix him up. Anyway, all that stuff is the kind of thing that you almost have to join a protest that you care about, and then be willing to step back if you see police, because I wouldn't want anybody to get caught up in being hit with a bicycle. They hit people with bicycles. They shove them to the ground. They shove camera people over.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's on live stream, like OPDX Live. Well, it says media on occupyportland.org. But Yeah, OccupyPortland.org has a media section, and if you look up, see, it was recent. It was kind of recent. Anyway, there's a lot of citizens involved in these complaints of police brutality, so they're getting meeting with the Portland Police's oversight committees, but that'll take 6 months, and then the guy will still be, or the woman will still be doing it, shoving. Anyway, I would encourage anybody, as long as they have a exit route and they don't get too close, but they can witness, I would encourage people to go downtown when there's a protest, especially something, serious. There was a kids march, in Eugene that got out of hand with the cops. They were just instigating. So, yeah, I would, but it's something you have to witness. I don't expect people to actually believe.
I believe it. I believe it. I absolutely believe it.
What do you think the cause is of police brutality against people protesting?
Any rules or common decency, they slowly disintegrate, right? And I think that any society who can let peacekeepers become the violent ones, it's sort of rough. I mean, that does not bode well for your future.
They're giving them more powerful weapons and more defensive gear and more horses and more, things that are for riot. So they're very decked out, prepared. So I think that sets the mood. Like an actor putting on villain makeup, they're putting on, outfits made to beat people.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of really good cops. I mean, they are good men and women. But I know a couple bad people, and they became cops, and I think that is a real shame. Because that person is just bad. It's not because they're a cop. They were bad before they got the badge.
So they were drawn to a position of power.
I don't know. I don't know why. I would hope they would grow up into the role. I just don't trust that. But there are a lot of good cops out there.
Yeah, I have family in the police. They're retired now, but I don't have a...
Mine are in the Midwest, so I can only speak for the Midwest.
Right. So, yeah, good cops, bad cops, but definitely... we actually saw them take out the good cops in purpose, right before they evicted us. They all the cops that we knew were suddenly not there the day before eviction. So everybody who'd worked with us and knew that we were nonviolent and knew that we had talked to them, and knew who the troublemakers versus the people who were there to protest, they were gone that night, a lot of them. But not everybody there was necessarily bad. It's just that they were unfamiliar, and some of them were
scared.
Some of them were scared of us. Yes, definitely.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've got to get back on the road. It was really nice talking with you.
It's
Thank
really...
you for the education.
I appreciate it. I hope to
Good
see
luck
you
with your
either on OccupyPortland.org or in person.
I will look. I'm fascinated by Occupy movement.
Well, just remember,
Mostly
that's
from an
what it is
educational...
it's an idea, and there's a media coalition, and there's some democratic processes, but if you see the differences in the marches, it's for justice, but it's for action, trying to put pressure for action and community. So you're not going to see, you have to have a consistent message. And money out of politics and, anti-corruption, power to the people versus corporation, or rules being oppressive, all of that, yes. But if you're wondering why, one day you're going to see something about NATO and, next day you're going to see something about unions, you know, or whatever. It's because
Yeah, I get it.
anybody can form a march, and they sometimes it's not even official. Sometimes it's just we're in solidarity, or you know, want to some people, individuals, autonomously.
So, I guess before I get on the road, I would pose one question.
What's that?
You look at the more recent movements. When did the people that started on Occupy get into the political body and start making a difference? Because policy is what changes things. When do you stop with the ideas and get a couple people that you trust, understand, into a position
have-
where they can have that
right.
political policy, influence on policy?
Well, I'm sure that there's several people who are. I know that there are some people attempting to write legislation to recommend or initiatives, and that there's a guy who ran for mayor. He started out as a joke, but he got some endorsement, you know, and he was doing well. He didn't make it, but and so I'm there. It really appears that there will be people, and there are people who have identified as being with Occupy, who are already politicians. But right now, you know, we can say, hey, did you know that you can be arrested on American soil by the military for the purpose of nothing, you know, for no reason. And you know, they're trying to get rid of habeas corpus entirely. You know, how do you feel about that? And we get a march going and 100 people show up. So I feel like it's a war on apathy, you know, or media lack of coverage, and you know, blind trust in politicians. And you know, I would say that we are so far from where we need to be that we're almost just banging a gong all the time to say, hey, NDAA or ALEC. You know, people didn't know who ALEC was. Occupy did that, I believe. All the organizations that take credit for that, I never see Occupy Portland really given any props for, you know, having huge marches. And Portland actually coordinated the ALEC march nationwide. So, you know, now McDonald's backs out, and you know, all these companies are like, okay, maybe it isn't so good to fund private prisons and then make laws to catch immigrants with profiling. You know, that they have a quota in those prisons, so they're trying to fill it. It's really, you know, really bad. So, you know, I know that we did that, you know, but so I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, I think we didn't know each other at first. Now people know each other. We didn't have any real the kind of structures that we have now, like everything from Google groups to, you know, all sorts of, like City Hall Vigil.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully.
Take a look at that. It's really nice to meet you.
Yeah, come down to City Hall and see us. And if you see something negative, just remember it's open to the public, everyone. We get influx of people and we deal with it, and we're trying to build a community. But like if we have low attendance by people who've been there before, sometimes, you know, you get what you get. So we're doing our best, but if you catch us on a bad night, come back a different day, you know, day or night. But night's when you see people sleeping there, when the candles look real pretty, and the security people from City Hall have been really great. They're really neat people. So yeah, come down to City Hall. That would be neat.
Well, thanks. Hey,
Yeah.
have a good day.
And I'll keep you off camera. Thank you very much for the interview. Can I say your name, or did I get any?
No.
I will. Can I say that?
Huh?
Can I say that
Sure.
for my title?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I will say we had a lovely cyclist today. Thank you very much. That's what I will on. If you go to Vigil-TV on Ustream, I will say interview with cyclist. That will be on Ustream. Bye.